Week 6 game between the Lions and the Jaguars. But for now, I want to welcome in my co-host, Anthony Bellino, down at the Henry Ford Health System Update Desk. Anthony, it is good to see you. Good to have some football back after the bye.
It is very good indeed. Always nice to see you as well. And for the Detroit Lions having that bye week, trying to get prepared for a couple of road contests coming up, a very interesting stretch of the schedule here for the Lions, because the Detroit Lions are actually the only team in the league right now that has faced every single one of their opponents have had a winning record. So the next up couple coming of weeks, it's going to be a little bit of a change, a little bit different opponents, if you will, as far as the win-loss column is concerned. So a very important couple of weeks upcoming for the Lions.
Great point, Anthony. Great point. Well, the Lions hit the road yesterday. They got on the plane and headed to Jacksonville. Here's a look at the Lions loading up that plane. A sharp look from Marvin Jones Jr. there. A lot of the Lions really brought the heat with their road game outfits coming back from the bye. And man, I wish I was on that plane headed to my home state of Florida.
Yeah, it's got to be you got to be missing it a little bit, right? I mean, but maybe some inclement weather in the forecast a little bit later on in the day today. But it's always, I like to always think it's sunny down there. That's the joys of working here in Detroit, is that we always know that it's going to be about 70 degrees and we have a roof over our head, so we don't have to worry about any of that. As for the Lions game day travel gear, I think we should have a whole segment on the wardrobe.
Look at this one.
I
Look
love
at
the
Deshaun
green.
Hand
I love
with
it.
the matching mask and suit. Man, that is fire right there. I am impressed by that outfit.
Window pane patterns there. I can't get enough of that. I need more of that in my life. I need to know who they're going to see so that I can up my game a little bit and maybe try to get on the same level. I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, there's some really sharp outfits there for the Lions heading on the road to the Jacksonville Jaguars. We are excited to preview this game. We have got so much to talk about, but before we get into it, let's turn to our Henry Ford Health System inactives and take a look at who will not be able to play in this game. First of all, on the Jaguars side of things, defensive end Josh Allen will not be playing in this game. Neither will defensive tackle Avery Jones, defensive back Luke Barku, defensive tackle Daniel Ukulele, wide receiver Dede Westbrook, or quarterback Jake Luton. Not having Josh Allen is big for the Jaguars today.
Big for the Jaguars and big for the Lions, and a team that needs to be able to try to keep Matthew Stafford upright for as long as possible. You see that on active list. You see Josh Allen not going to be out there on the field. That might be able to breathe a little bit of sigh of relief there for the tackles today.
Absolutely. Well, let's turn to the Lions inactives, and here the big story is who is not on that list. And center Frank Ragnow is not on that list. Anthony, you and I were chatting when that list came out. That is so big for this Lions offensive line to have their center who is playing at a very high level out on the field today.
Yeah, when you think about the Detroit Lions offensive line, you think of Jonah Jackson, the rookie. You think on the left side there with Taylor Decker. And then, of course, in the middle with Frank Ragnow and how good he has been, not only this season but last year as well. A key, integral part. And it's one thing if you're going to exchange guards or tackles, it could be a little different. But when you talk about the center to quarterback exchange, having that chemistry between Matthew Stafford and Frank Ragnow, so very important for those two to be on the same page all of the time. And a little bit of a difference there, a little bit of a wrinkle can actually have a large impact on the game. So the fact that Frank's name is not on this list, that is awesome. Although when you do look a little bit further down on the list, Quintez Cephas not being in the lineup, Desmond Trufant being inactive today, those are kind of tough blows because we know what they mean to this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Desmond Trufant has dealt with that hamstring injury ever since week 1. Unfortunately, the bye week wasn't able to help him get healthy, so he will not be out there on the field today. It'll probably be Amani Oruwariye and Jeff Okudah there on the outside at the corner position. David Blau also inactive today. The Lions signed him to the active roster this week from the practice squad. Rookie offensive lineman Logan Stenberg and veteran offensive lineman Kenny Wiggins also will be inactive today. So that's a look at the Lions inactives. Now let's take a look around the league with our BetMGM out of town preview and look at some of these games that are going on today. Anthony, I think I've got my eye on that Packers-Bucks game at 4:25.
Oh, huge at the 4 o'clock window. I mean, you talk about the Tom Brady against Aaron Rodgers head to head. And obviously, it's always more than just the quarterbacks, but the way that Aaron Rodgers has been playing football this year and what Tampa Bay has kind of gone through, where at times they've looked really good, other times they've been a little bit bit questionable. This is actually a huge game for both of those teams. And if you remember back to last week with Tampa Bay in week number 5 losing by 1 to the Chicago Bears, Chicago mounting that late rally in the second quarter right before halftime, and then scoring 6 in the fourth quarter to beat them 20-19. That's a big one. I'm looking AFC North in a heated rivalry between the Steelers and the Cleveland Browns.
There you go.
Remember Myles Garrett and the whole Mason Rudolph situation. Like, that could be a little testy. The 8 o'clock Sunday night football game between the Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams are playing some incredibly good football right now. Maybe one of the teams we're overlooking considering their record and where they've been. And then, of course, the Bills and the Chiefs. It's an early Monday night game with a little bit of a flux in the schedule. But, I mean, what happened to the Buffalo Bills last week? You know, you never expected, even though that game was pushed around the schedule, but to get beat by the Tennessee Titans 42-16.
Yeah.
That Bills-Chiefs matchup is huge. And the Chiefs, they looked human losing to the Oakland Raiders last week. So there are some games here that really stand out that are going to be very intriguing for football fans across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that Packers-Tampa Bay game, Lions fans, obviously Tampa Bay fans this week, which I'm cool with. I'm a Tampa Bay Rays fan who made it into the World Series this weekend, so I'm pretty amped up about that on this Sunday morning. Had to give a shout out to my hometown Tampa Bay Rays, but certainly a lot of great games to pay attention to. Some undefeated teams still here in the NFL, so let's take a look at the standings across the league as we head into this weekend of games. Pittsburgh, one of those undefeated teams that is taking on, like you said, the Cleveland Browns today. Tennessee still undefeated as well, so that's a look at what's going on in the AFC. Anthony, what stands out to you?
Well, and you mentioned Pittsburgh and Tennessee, two teams that were supposed to meet up, a little bit earlier this season, but it didn't work out. I'm kind of, with the way that the AFC North has played out, you have 3 4-win teams there, and then of course the Bengals. So very much a very competitive division, and with the expanded playoff this year, you might look at a division that could potentially get 3, maybe an entire division, and it won't happen in the AFC North. But I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns right now, kind of stand out like, hey, that could be a playoff team. You look at Buffalo with a 2-game lead over New England. How will they respond this week? Kansas City dropping that game to the Las Vegas Raiders. That was kind of a surprise. And then in Tennessee and Indianapolis, what really are the Indianapolis Colts with Phillip Rivers? I think there's a huge question there in what the Colts will actually be this season, because if you look at some of their wins this year and some of the teams that they played, you're going to raise your eyebrows a little bit.
Some tight races in the AFC. The same cannot be said for the NFC East. I mean, I guess it is a tight race,
it's
just
tight,
not good win-loss records over there in the AFC East. Dallas at the lead with 2 wins. New York Giants, no wins so far this season and just 2 games back. That division is a little bit puzzling this year.
And it's kind of, with Dak Prescott's injury, it'll be very interesting to see how Dallas responds, and it really opens the door for everybody else. But you look at that division, you kind of scratch your head and you go, oh, okay, well, there's not a whole lot going on there. You look at the South, where there's a logjam between New Orleans, Tampa Bay, and Carolina. Each one of those teams is trying to figure out who's going to be the leader of the pack. And then in the West, Arizona just trying to hold on. There's a team that the Lions had some success against, and I mentioned the Rams earlier. Russell Wilson and the Seahawks have been playing phenomenal football. And then in the North, it's Green Bay and it's Chicago. And you look at the Lions with a little bit of an edge over the Vikings there. I'm always a big fan of that. But yeah, the NFC East to me is, once again, like last year, it's almost a disaster when you look at it. But somebody's got to win it.
Absolutely. I mean, it will be interesting to see how that one plays out, especially with the injury to Dak Prescott. And keep an eye, again, on those 2 undefeated teams, Seattle and Green Bay, and see what they do here in Week 6.
Yeah, it will be a lot of fun all season long, and for Dak and the Cowboys, you just wish the best for him. A quality young man, dealt a little bit of adversity, but we'll have to wait and see how he responds and what happens next for the Cowboys. We'd also like to take this time to thank the Henry Ford Health System for being the presenting partner of the Detroit Lions pregame show today. And fans, as a reminder, make sure you tune into Fox 2 each Sunday at 10 a.m. for Lions Game Day Live. Turn on Fox 2 tonight at 11 and watch Sportsworks and Lions Game Night for a complete recap and interviews from this afternoon's game. If you're watching from the Detroit Lions broadcast region, be sure to tune into your local Fox station to catch today's game, which kicks off at 1 p.m. Eastern Time down there in Duval County. Are you the ultimate Lions fan? Does your fandom go beyond just the game? Well, as a part of the NFL Fan of the Year contest, the Lions are actually searching for one extraordinary fan who is a positive influence and inspires others through their love of football. Visit NFL.com/fan of the year for more information or to nominate yourself or others for a chance to win a trip to the Super Bowl. And each home game this season, we're recognizing select teachers as our champion of the game, fueled by Campbell's Chunky. We're counting on fans to nominate high school teachers who make a significant impact in their communities. Visit DetroitLions.com/champion to nominate a deserving high school teacher today. And as always, fans, we want to see your game face. You have the chance to be featured on today's show by posting using the hashtag DTEGameFace and showing us your game day energy. Don't miss out on the opportunity to be a part of the Lions game day. Post now with hashtag DTEGameFace.
To recognize 5 community partners who are making a difference in Detroit. As part of the That Deserves a Crown community program, 5 community partners received spotlights on Detroit Lions social media and will receive a $2,000 donation courtesy of Crown Royal and the Detroit Lions. City Year Detroit focuses their support on 11 Detroit public schools that are systemically under-resourced. Their 116 AmeriCorps members serve over 7,000 students, with the goal of increasing the number of students who are on track to graduate from high school. Playworks Michigan focuses on increasing safe and healthy play among students. Their programs, which are integrated into more than 350 schools across Michigan, have a direct impact on reducing chronic absenteeism and recess bullying. Detroit Lions Academy provides an opportunity for overage students to get back on the path to high school. Their smaller classroom sizes, highly qualified teachers, and dedicated support staff allow each student's social, emotional, and academic needs to be catered to. The Eastern Market, a Detroit staple since the 1800s, strives to nourish a healthier, wealthier, and happier Detroit. During the COVID-19 pandemic, they've delivered over 2,000 fresh, affordable, and locally sourced food boxes each week to Detroiters in need. The Detroit Police Athletic League was created in 1969 to improve the relationship between police officers and the community. Today, their programming reaches over 15,000 youth a year and aims to help them find their greatness through athletic, academic, and leadership development. The Detroit Lions and Crown Royal are proud to support these partners in their dedicated service to the Detroit community. Together, we build a stronger Detroit. Welcome back to the Detroit Lions pregame show presented by Henry Ford Health System. I'm Tori Petry, joined on set by DetroitLions.com's Tim Twentyman here to preview a little bit of Lions Jaguars at Ford Field. Tim, It's good to see you after the bye.
Yeah, I like it. You got the nice little setup here with the different chairs and everything this week. It's good. It's very homey here at Ford Field.
I know, right? We had some time to set some things up over the bye week, so we're feeling right at home here at Ford Field while the Lions are on the road. Tim, the Lions head back to work against the Jacksonville Jaguars this weekend. This is a big game for them. I mean, season has not gotten off to the way that they wanted it to, but they have an opportunity against a team that isn't exactly rolling right now.
Yeah, they do. You know, obviously, if DeAndre Swift hangs on to that football week 1 and you're 2-2, you probably feel a little bit better about the Lions' situation right now. But it is what it is. You're 1-3. And now the good thing is you play a Jacksonville team that's 1-4. Next week you have an Atlanta team that's 0-5. So that's 1 win in 9 games. And so you have an opportunity to get yourself back to 3-3. And I think that's a really critical point there when you're talking about, you know, get yourself to 3-3. Now you're in the conversation in the NFC. Now you've got a big game coming back home against Indianapolis, a team with a good defense, a team with a winning record. But, you know, I think it's very critical to get yourself to that point. These next 2 weeks, you're just a more talented football team. On paper, roster-wise, just everything. You're more talented. I know they're on the road, but you should go down there, play pretty well. You're coming off a bye. You're healthy. You're more talented, like I said. These are football games they should win.
One thing to note, though, is that the Jacksonville Jaguars are probably looking at their schedule and seeing the 1-3 Lions and saying, hey,
Same thing.
Maybe we can get back on track
For
this
sure.
week.
And look, they've got some good young players, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But there's just some deficiencies there. Obviously, you know, they're not going to have Josh Allen today. That's huge for that defense. And like I said, they have some young little core pieces. But roster-wise, they're just not there yet. You know, this is a team building. They're trying to find their identity. They're building that roster up. And so, yes, they view this game as probably an opportunity for them to get a win. But if you're the Lions, you're a more talented football team. You're a more experienced football team. This is a game that you should go down and win.
Well, the Lions are starting to take the field in Jacksonville. We will get you some live shots into warm-ups there at that stadium in just a little bit. But, Tim, let's jump into talking about the Lions and what they need to do today. Matthew Stafford is a big part of the Lions' success if they want to win in Jacksonville.
Yeah, he's got to play a little bit better. You look at the statistics there, 60.6 completion percentage, 1,017 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. We've talked about the interceptions before. There were some critical moments there that hurt them in some football games. And then 93.8 passer rating. That's 18th in the NFL. Just not quite good enough, especially with what we saw last year and the level that he was playing at, before he suffered that back injury. He just hasn't replicated that for whatever reason. But hopefully, look, the bye week came and you were able to take a step back, self-evaluate. And I think, we talked to Darrell Bevel and with Matthew, and one of the things they came up with was, working on his footwork a little bit. And so, playing the quarterback position is just as much about your feet as it is your arm. It really is. And you look at a guy like Drew Brees, and he's so good in the pocket. And here, what I'm talking about is, I'm going to get up. Here we go. What I'm talking about, they talked about using Matthew's feet to get through his progressions, right? And so, it's not about just being here, right, and your first progression is right. Now you look left. No, you've got to always be active, and boom, your feet take you left to that
progression.
progression.
I like the visual.
I think those are some of the things that they were working on with Matthew this week, just being a little bit better footwork-wise, getting through his progressions and letting his feet help him get to those progressions. And so it was maybe a little bit sloppy, and so that's what we talk about with the bye week, an opportunity to take a look at something, right, do a little bit of film study and find out something that you can do a little bit better. And so that's one of the things we worked on. So it's something to watch in this game, just how active he is with his feet, how good he is at moving in the pocket to get his feet, to get him to different reads and progressions.
I just want the viewers to know that Tim Twentyman is a former star quarterback himself.
No, that was 30 pounds and 22 years ago. That was a long time ago.
That's why that demonstration was just so good right there. So I appreciate that,
But
Tim.
you talk about footwork, and so the fans are like, well, okay, footwork, what does that mean? Does that mean just like escaping pressure? No, there's opportunities to improve footwork. And like I talked about off the top, it's just as important as your arm. Getting the footwork right, transitioning your body, getting into good throwing positions. And so it's not about just avoiding the rush and being good in the pocket. Also, when you have a clean pocket, it's staying on the balls of your feet, being active. You watch Drew Brees, like I said, he's really, really good at that, about shifting his body, moving his feet. Some of the things they worked on. See if Matthew's a little bit better with that today.
Here's my favorite storyline with Matthew Stafford this week. It's something you brought up in his press conference this week. There is one team in the NFL that Matthew Stafford has yet to throw a touchdown against, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is 2-0 against them, but oddly has not thrown a touchdown against them. Tim, do you think he changes that today?
I think he does. More important, I asked that question, but how impressive was his recall of those games, too?
Oh, just on
he knew it was like
yeah.
21 carries for 14 rushing yards in one game, and there was one game where Calvin could only turn right because of a knee injury. I mean, it's pretty amazing with how many passes and how many games that guy's played, just to be able to go back into the memory bank and recall all that is why he's as good as he is.
Absolutely.
But I think it does change. I think, you've got all your weapons on the outside. We've talked about TJ Hawkinson a lot. You know how I feel there. The Jaguars have given up 4 touchdowns to tight ends, over 200 yards, I think 20-plus catches. So there's some opportunities, I think, there in the middle of the field for TJ to possibly get in the end zone, maybe in the red zone. And so I think he does break that streak, and I think he can notch that on his tombstone. I think he said he wanted to have that where he's thrown against 31 all 31 other teams. So yeah, I think he gets it done today.
I love that. I love that swagger that he talks with when you brought that up in his press conference, and he's like, you know what? I think I'd like to put that on my tombstone with that little smirk. That's good stuff from Matthew Stafford. And TJ Hawkinson is a guy who could help him get that done today. Tim, you say we start TJ in fantasy.
I tell you, start TJ in fantasy. Look, 15 receptions, leads the team. 180 yards, leads the team. Touchdowns, tied with Kenny Galladay for the team lead. And so, look, he's off to a terrific start. I love that 12.0 average, too. That means he's making plays down the field. Those are impact plays, right? Those are chunk plays, move the chains, right? Big opportunities there. And so there's Teej right there at practice, chewing away on that mouth guard, looking for a place maybe he can sit inside a zone there today. And look, he's big, he's athletic. They've used him more than they did last year, which is great. And I think he's a mismatch problem, and he's proven that early in the year. And I would suspect that they go to Teej early and see if they can't get themselves in one of those good matchup situations.
I gotta say, with those practice videos that we're looking at, that foliage in the background, that this time of year with the fall leaves, oh, I love it. It's football season. That is the best. All right, let's take a look at a couple other pieces in this offense. Tim, I feel like one of the key points today is going to be that Lions offensive line. Obviously, we knew that Frank Ragnow missed some practice this week. We weren't sure if he was going to be able to go. He was questionable, but he is active today. How big a part do you think he plays on that offensive line?
Well, he's going to play a huge part. I think he's one of the top young centers in the game right now. I think he's the sixth highest graded center on Pro Football Focus. But I think the interesting thing about Frank being active now, Tori, is that this will be the first time that their 5 projected starting guys coming out of camp are active and could possibly play a game together.
But I'm interested to see if it actually is that starting 5.
Yeah, it is. We'll see. And though I'm obviously talking about Taylor Decker at left tackle, Joe Dahl at left guard. Now Joe Dahl came off IR, he missed the last 3 games, but he was activated to the roster on Saturday. He's active today, so I'd expect him to hop right into that starting lineup. I'm expecting it to be at left guard and Ragnow playing center, but then you got Ragnow at center, Jonah Jackson at right guard, and Big V at right tackle. Those 5 have not played a single snap together this year, so it'll be interesting to see. You brought it up. Will they mix Tyrell Crosby in there somewhere? Could Frank maybe not start but be active? We'll have to see how that all shakes out, but I think it's positive that they're trending in the direction where the 5 guys that they viewed as their top 5 guys heading into the year are finally going to get an opportunity to be active together and potentially play today.
Well, and I know that you felt like Taylor Decker was going to be an important player in this game, but obviously the Jaguars not having Josh Allen today, alleviates that pressure on the Lions' offensive line a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Now, they still have some young, talented guys there, but when you talk about Decker, I mean, he's had a terrific start to the season. Obviously got the big contract and got the security. He's going to be here a while, and that's good for him and his new wife. And but just he's matched the contract, and that's always what you want. You pay a guy a lot of money, and you want to see him still be hungry, right? Still improving. And I think we've seen that with Taylor Decker this year. Hasn't allowed a sack. I think he's only allowed 11 pressures. There are the stats right there. 11 pressures allowed as a left tackle in 4 games. That's really, really good. And we're talking about playing fronts like the Smith brothers, Green Bay. We're talking about a Chicago defensive front. Arizona's got some talented guys up front. You know what I'm saying?
Cam Jordan.
Yeah, Cam Jordan. So, I mean, to not have allowed a sack, and look at reliable, right? 265 snaps out of 265 snaps. The best ability is availability, right? Isn't that what Jim Caldwell always used to say?
Yep.
And so, look, he's been that rocket on the left side, and he's protected Matthew. The big number there, the 0 sacks allowed. He's been great, and so I think he continues that today. And you mentioned he's got a little bit easier billing without Allen going for Jacksonville.
All right, let's look at the other weapons that Matthew Stafford has. A lot of the comments that I've gotten from Lions fans on social media have been asking why we haven't seen more of DeAndre Swift. Now, we've been seeing the Lions use him in an out of the backfield, catching the ball out of the backfield type of role. Tim, what do you think we see from him today in Jacksonville?
Well, I think we continue to see that because he's been really, really good. You know, obviously the 12 attempts for 42 yards, that's down. You'd like to see that number increase a little bit, and I think it will. You know, we have to remember, too, that this is a young man that missed a lot of training camp because of injury.
They seem to be taking a gradual approach
they were
with
taking
the rookies
a gradual
where they
approach.
can.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. And then, you know, so you get a bye week early. And now all of a sudden, you know, they come out of the bye saying, hey, we want to simplify some things on offense, defense, let guys play faster. So now he's had 4 games under his belt, right? And he's got a bye week to kind of self-evaluate, reflect, watch some film, get his mind off football, get right, get healthy, right? And now I think we'll see a little bit of an increased role because of them simplifying some things too. But look, he's still going to have that same role as being a pass catcher out of the backfield. I think they found something there that they really, really like. He's a terrific matchup. They moved him out into the slot sometimes. And when you can move, when you have a piece that you can move from the backfield to the slot to either side of the formation, you can put yourself in good matchups. You know, with obviously a nickel corner who he's a little bigger than, or a linebacker who he's faster than, or a safety who maybe isn't, you know, quite as nimble and quick as he is. And so they've been really good about finding those matchups in the passing game, and I think they're going to continue to do that. But don't be surprised if he gets a few more carries as weeks go on. He's proven he can be a playmaker, and I think he needs to show that in the run game as well, and I think he'll get an opportunity to do that moving forward.
Well, you guys are starting to see it. The Lions taking the field in Jacksonville. You just saw Matthew Stafford and Chase Daniel heading to the field to start their pregame warmups. We will have a lot more of a look into those pregame warmups as our pregame show rolls on, and we will be right back after this break.
All for leaving opponents in our dust. Linebackers and cancer alike. All for believing in ourselves, even when victory seems impossible. All for working tirelessly as one for the good of all around us. As the official healthcare provider of the Detroit Lions, Henry Ford Health System is proud to keep our greatest athletes and their biggest fans at their best. Henry Ford Health System, all for you.
Show off your Lions pride with the official Detroit Lions debit card offered only by UMCU. Choose how you will represent your team with 3 signature Lions designs. UMCU enhances your banking experience with access to a convenient mobile app, nationwide network of ATMs, and 24/7 online banking. Plus, cardholders get special member-only offers from the Lions. Join UMCU today and be the first in line to receive your exclusive Detroit Lions debit card. Visit umcu.org. Welcome back into the Detroit Lions pregame show presented by Henry Ford Health System. I'm Tori Petry on set with Tim Twentyman. We've just talked a little bit about the Lions offense, that Lions offense taking the field in Jacksonville. We'll be giving you a live look into those warm-ups as they happen. But Tim, I want to talk a little bit about this defense as well. It's important to talk about because this defense needs to turn things around this week.
Yeah, they need to turn things around. And I think it starts stopping the run. I mean, that's first and foremost. 170.3 yards per game through the first 4 weeks, and you can't consistently win football games like that. I mean, when a team's able to control tempo and just physically pound you and control time of possession, and then they're putting themselves in good down and distance situations by being able to run the football. And so, when we talk about the pass rush, now you're not able to pin your ears back and really rush the passer like you want to because they're in such good second and third down situations. So stopping the run is really critical to the whole entire operation on defense. That's where it has to start. They had to figure out a way over this bye week on just how to improve tackling, their run fits, everything else. That's got to be better today. And James Robinson is a guy that can go off for Jacksonville if you allow him, if you give him holes. He's a downhill runner. He's physical. And so they've got to be really, really much, much better against the run. That's where it all starts for me on defense.
That's something that they have talked about a lot over the last couple of weeks. We've had the bye week to kind of talk to some of the assistant coaches, to talk to some of the players about what they feel like needed to be improved about this defense over the bye as they made adjustments and looked back at film. And a lot of the questions were about how do you get more pressure on the quarterback? That was asked so many times. And the response was, well, we've got to get them into passing situations. They've been in a lot of running situations because they've been able to run the ball. So really, pressuring the quarterback starts with stopping the run. And they have a big challenge in James Robinson today.
Yeah, they do have a big challenge. He's a really good player, undrafted guy, which is, I love those kind of stories, right? You know, no one wants you. You're an undrafted guy. All you do is come in, work hard, put your head down in camp, earn a spot, and you see the numbers right there. 73 attempts for 333 yards, but look at that rush average. That's the number that's key to me. 4.6 yards. That's putting your offense in good down and distance situations, right? That's making plus plays when you run the football. And then, look, he's a threat out of the backfield as well. 18 catches for 183 yards, so he can do a little bit of everything, so he's a good weapon, but it really has to start with when Gardner Minshew hands the ball off to him. It can't be 4.6 yards per carry today. It's got to be less. You've got to put yourself in better situations, and if you do that, now you can rush the quarterback. And look, we're not playing Kyler Murray. We're not playing Aaron Rodgers, right? Guys that can make plays with their feet outside the pocket. So you have to rush those guys a little bit different than you would, say, a Drew Brees, right? Last week we saw them with their first multi-sack game. Why? Drew Brees is a pocket passer, right? You can rush him a little bit different. You can have a little bit different plan against a guy like that. They had their most hits on the quarterback last week. Why? Because you know that Drew Brees is going to play in the pocket. And I think Gardner Minshew's a lot of the same way. Now, he'll escape every now and then, but he's not a threat to really gain yards and be a huge threat outside the pocket. If he does get outside, he's looking to throw, not looking to run. So you can rush a guy like that a little bit different. So I would expect we see a little bit more pressure dialed up by the Lions this week because now as long as they stop the run, and as long as they get themselves to the situation like you and I both mentioned, I think there's going to be some opportunities to rush him a little bit different and really try to attack him and not be as disciplined in your rush, making sure he doesn't escape to make plays with his legs like we've seen in previous games. So I would expect if they can stop the run today, we're going to see some pressure and maybe we see another multi-sack game by the Lions because I think they can be real aggressive with their rush against Gardner Minshew today.
All right, which players on that Lions front seven should Lions fans be keeping an eye on to either make a lot of tackles in the run game or finally get to the quarterback?
Well, I think Trey Flowers is due for a big game. I think Julian Okwara has been really good, the first 4 games as that other guy. We don't talk about, Romeo Okwara. We don't talk about Romeo all that much, but I think it was 10 pressures. I think heading into the bye week, that was top 10 among defensive ends. He had a couple sacks. I think he's going to be good. I think Trey Flowers needs to pick it up a little bit more. Obviously, he's a factor on the edge there, and he's good. 12 tackles. We see the 8 solo, but that one sack in 4 games, I'd like that number to be a little bit higher. I think those sacks we're talking about impact plays there, and he had the forced fumble, which is good. Maybe we get a little bit more of that too, creating havoc, creating those big plays up front. And then Nick Williams is another one for me. And look, we're seeing the Okwara stats, like 10 tackles, the 2 sacks, the 4 quarterback hits, but the pressures, he had over 10 the first 4 weeks. So that pressure is, we talk about how sacks are such an important statistic, but if you can get a quarterback off his spot, make him uncomfortable, right? We talk the pressures. That's where Romeo's been really good. I think Trey Flowers needs to be a little bit better there. Another name I want to throw out there, Tori, is Nick Williams. He was a guy that kind of broke out in Chicago last year. They signed him to a free agent deal. I think he's been a little quiet the first month. I'd like to see some of that pass rush production that we saw in Chicago, him affecting the quarterback there. I'd like him to transition that to a little bit more, with the Lions this year, and especially this week.
Well, you talk about the pressures that Romeo Okwara has been getting. He talked this week in his media session about where he feels like he personally needed to improve over the bye week, and he said for him it was missed tackles. He felt like some of those were missed sacks that he could have gotten. Now, they were pressures, they counted as pressures, but he felt like he could have gotten the sack, and so his sack numbers could have been a little bit higher. So I know that he's trying to improve that statistic today and get a little bit more, finish a little bit better when it comes to getting pressure on the quarterback for Romeo Okwara. All right, you guys are seeing a look into warm-ups. Those are the wide receivers and running backs. That's kind of your Lions offense huddling up there.
Do we have a temperature update there in Jacksonville?
I don't know, but I'm sure it's better than what it is here.
Okay. I didn't know if you had a temperature update there. It looks pretty nice down there.
It does. We'll see how the day ends up turning out in Jacksonville, but obviously we've got a chilly and rainy morning here in Detroit. Tim, I know you and I would like to be in Jacksonville watching that game in the stand or in the press box in Jacksonville, but obviously things are a little bit different this year, so we are here at Ford Field, and we still have the defensive backs to talk about. Obviously, Desmond Trufant was ruled out on Friday. We knew he wasn't going to be able to go for this game. Definitely a tough blow for this Lions defense to not be able to have him throughout the first few weeks of the season. He's been in and out of the lineup here. So it looks like we're going to have Amani Oruwariye and Jeff Okudah on the outside for the Lions this week against the Jaguars. What do you feel like Jeff Okudah should be able to do here in week 6?
Yeah, well, first off, Amani's been good. Amani's been solid. I think he's earned that number 2 spot there, and I would consider him a number 1 today. He's been really, really good. But when you look at Jeff, I think he's gotten better every opportunity he's gotten to play, and that's what you want to see from a young player, right? And so, look, we talked about it before. This is a young man that didn't have an opportunity to have an off season. He had a condensed training camp, and so it wasn't the same. And look, he's got 18 tackles, so he's not afraid to put his head in there and help in the run game. We've seen him make plays behind the line of scrimmage, being instinctive and come up and making a play on screen. The one interception that was obviously big, but it'll be interesting today because obviously you have Jeff Okudah, the number 3 overall pick. And, we're seeing Kenny Galladay there, and it's good to see him as well. But you also have on the other side of the field, C.J. Henderson. And, he was the number 9 overall pick. Where did he go to school again? Someplace.
A little place called the University of Florida.
Right. You know a little bit about him, I guess.
If we weren't showing you pregame warm-ups, you guys could see my Gator Chomp here on screen. Here's a look at these two guys. 2 top 10 cornerback picks here on the field today. Jeff Okudah for the Lions, C.J. Henderson for the Jaguars. What have you thought of C.J. Henderson so far this
Really
season?
similar numbers if you look at him and bring him down. I always the big step for me when I'm looking at cornerback play is targets, catches allowed, and so they're similar there, but it's the opponent QBR. How effective are you at limiting the opposition's quarterback when they target you? And so 99.8, that's a little bit high. Obviously 93.6 is a little bit high too, but for a rookie, that's not terrible. But I think that the line there on the bottom, the QBR against, I think that's the important stat when we look at evaluating cornerbacks. And when we talked about Amani Oruwariye, I didn't check it this week, but I think I checked it going into the bye. That number was down in the 70s, 77 range, I think, where it was an opponent's passer rating.
Amani enough.
I know. Maybe we aren't, but he's been really, really good. But I think that's the key that we're talking about Okudah, because if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars and you're heading in this game, you say, okay, well, there's no Desmond Trufant. Amani Oruwariye has been pretty good on this side. Who are we going to target? Well, the rookie. And that's just the life of a rookie in the NFL. You're going to get targeted until you can prove you can stop it. So Okudah is a key factor in this game today. He's got to play better. Like I said, he's played better every step of the way. And so you would hope that continues today. Just the more experience he gets, the more comfortable he feels in the scheme, the more the game just slows down as he gets more experience. So you would hope that trajectory to keep trending upward.
Absolutely. And then another key guy in that secondary is going to be Tracy Walker. He had a big game before the bye week. We saw him in there for more snaps than he had been playing, and he played pretty well.
Yeah, I think they've kind of smartened up a little bit and said, look, Tracy Walker's one of our best defenders. He needs to be on the field all the time. I don't think he came out for a snap in that New Orleans game. Now, I know he was splitting some snaps with Harris early in the season, but he's just too good of a football player to take out. It was just size. You look at the tackles, 29. He had 100 tackles last year. He led this football team. And when tackling's been an issue, look, you need one of your better tacklers on the field. He's the last line of defense. You look at when he's up in the box and when he's that box safety, the 2 tackles for loss. But look, he can cover as well, the 3 passes defense. So he, in my opinion, is a guy that can do it all. And there's just, unless he's hurt, there shouldn't be a whole lot of times when he's off the field unless you have a specific package. And so it's good that they're relying on him a little bit more. I think he's going to be a key factor in this game. Like I said, he's the last line of defense. So he's got to be really good about getting James Robinson and Chark and those athletic weapons that they got, Chenault on the outside. You got to be real good about tackling those guys because they can make big plays after the catch, after contact if you allow them. So Lions have to be much, much better today in tackling, and I think Tracy Walker is one of the key pieces to that.
A big game on a personal level for Tracy Walker as well, as he is from Southern Georgia, which is right there by Jacksonville, Florida. And the Jacksonville Stadium has fans today. So he said he's going to have some family in the stands. So that's exciting for him. And I'm sure he's going to enjoy going back close to home.
Well, that's an interesting dynamic, too, the fans. I don't think we talked about it. I did ask Matt Patricia this week about it. We asked some players about it. And, they add something. Even if they're opposing fans, they're now 16,000 fans. fans isn't a lot, but you can hear if you're watching those games with the limited amount of fans, you can still hear them, making noise in the background. They can have an effect on games, and I think we talked to Romeo Quar. He said, they can give you some juice, right? He said, I sometimes like booing better than I like cheering. That can get inside you. That can motivate you a little bit. And so this will be the first game. Now, I think there are 500 fans in Arizona. It was friends and family, but 16,000 makes an impact. And so it'll be interesting to see, Lions playing in front of fans for the first time. Will they kind of use that negative energy, channel it, and play better football than they have been?
We will see. Tim, thank you so much for all of your insight, guys. We will be back in just a little bit with more from pregame warmups, and Mike O'Hara will join us to preview the Jacksonville Jaguars. Don't go away.
I vote because I know without voting, my voice isn't heard.
So I go out and vote because I have an opinion. And I know you have an opinion too. And I feel like my opinion would not matter if I didn't back it up with action.
I'm voting because clearly this is a really important election in, this time in history. It's going to determine a lot of things for, people of color, everybody in the United States of America.
There's people out there that don't even have the right to vote. People that get their right taken away from them in the states to vote. So, as long as you have that right, I feel like you should go out there and, use it.
Voting to me is important just because it gives us each a vote and a voice to elect whoever we want in office, whether it's local or federal.
Voting is important to me because when you think about our ancestors and all they had to do to be able to vote, that alone should inspire anyone to get out there and vote.
My mom was in the military, and I know that freedom isn't free, and the right to vote came at a cost, and I feel like it's my duty as an American to vote.
This is actually my first time ever voting since I turned 18. My first time registering and everything. Just older guys kind of preach the importance of this election.
People like to say that one vote doesn't matter, when actually it does, especially the way our voting system's kind of set up with the winner-take-all with electoral college, how those are counted. So say just regardless of what party that you kind of want to vote for, just make sure you get out and vote.
If you haven't done it before, I encourage you to try your best to do it this year. It's an experience, and it's something that you get to partake in history.
Your vote really counts. You are the one that has to get up, take the initiative to help make a change that we need.
I encourage you to visit michigan.gov/vote to check your voter status, register to vote, or to see a sample ballot to do your research.
I will vote.
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 I will use my voice.
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 Will you?
Will you?
Will you?
Will you?
Will you?
Welcome back into the Detroit Lions pregame show presented by Henry Ford Health System. I'm Tori Petry, broadcasting from here at Ford Field while the Lions are in Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars today. We're giving you a live look into warm-ups as we get that footage sent to us from Jacksonville. But for now, I have DetroitLions.com's Mike O'Hara joining me here on set to preview a little bit about the opponent today. Mike, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. It's great being here with you, Tori. By the way, I really appreciate the idea that you're going to get me a tee time at the Players Championship course there, but we're stuck here instead.
Listen, if we were there things would be so much different. The Gators were supposed to take on LSU. Me and Lomas Brown would have been at the Gator game Saturday night, and things would be so much fun. But instead, we're here, but we still have a football game to talk about, and for that, we are thankful.
Right here in Detroit, 6 feet apart.
Exactly. Well, let's dive into talking about the Jaguars today. Mike, which players on the Jaguars do you feel like are some of the most important ones for the Lions to watch out for today?
Well, mostly offensively, and you and Tim covered some of this stuff. But look, they've got a kid here, James Robinson, out of Illinois State, who is really a good story. Well, guess what else he is? He's a good football player. At Illinois State, he had 4,444 yards rushing and 44 touchdowns, and he'd already set the Illinois State record as a high school player, more than 9,000 yards rushing and 150-some touchdowns. All of that got him nothing in the draft. He was not one of the 19 running backs drafted. This is my research, by the way, for the week. But he got signed as an undrafted free agent. As you know, that was tough this year because there was no rookie camp, no off-season program. You just as a rookie, you step out there to start a training camp with everybody else. You've got to learn on the fly. Well, guess what? Not only did he make the roster, not only did he start on opening day, he carried the ball on their first 3 offensive plays. You talk about a kid who went from the bottom to the top in a hurry, and he hasn't stopped running, and he hasn't stopped carrying. He's got 333 yards already, 3 touchdowns, and pretty good out of the backfield, too. He's been a receiver, so really, talk about a surprise. I think that's a surprise, except for this one thing, though. You can always say that you could always bet on this. Every year, you can get a star running back in every round, 1 through 7, and in free agency. You can also get one who doesn't perform. The same thing. You never know about running backs.
Well, it certainly helped Robinson's position to have the Jaguars part ways with Leonard Fournette before the season. That opened up an opportunity, but he certainly was there to take hold of that opportunity. And stopping that Jaguars offense starts with stopping James Robinson. But they've got a couple of talented guys at the wide receiver position as well. Some young guys, G.J. Chark and Laviska Shenault. Those guys have been doing big things for the Jaguars at wide receiver.
Well, I'm glad you had to pronounce Laviska Shenault, and I didn't. But I tell you what, this is a kid that I looked at in the draft. They took him in the 2nd round out of Colorado, and what a versatile athlete in college. And he was a guy that just one of those guys who just a football player, and he's proven that already in 5 games with the Jaguars. He's got 23 catches, 270 yards, and he's also carried the ball or run the ball, however he gets it in his hands, 9 times for 53 yards. Wouldn't be a surprise if they used him in the Wildcat or something like that. He's 6'1", about 220, something like that. He a lot like James Robinson, a kid who's really physically built, really uses his power, his ability, and his moves, and that's somebody the Detroit Lions are going to have to keep an eye on.
And that's something that Matt Patricia talked about this week, is how they have used Laviska Shenault in the backfield and run some plays with him in the backfield there. So that's something to look out for as well. And then you've got to take a look at Gardner Minshew, who is playing at quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, you look at how he's playing so far this season, almost 1,500 yards there, averaging 287 yards a game. He's got 10 touchdowns so far this season. Of course, 4 interceptions to go along with it. Mike, what do you make of how Gardner Minshew's been playing?
Well, let's start with the mustache. And I love the name Gardner Minshew II. Doesn't that sound like a silent screen star from the 20s? But we're talking about the football player. One thing I like about him is, he took over last year. They replaced Nick Foles, who they brought in to be the starter. Played 4 games off and on, and when Minshew took over, he took over for good, and he was 6-6 as a starter. Look, just getting a rookie on the field and getting the team out of the huddle is an accomplishment, but to win games and go 500 with that roster last year, pretty good accomplishment for him. Now, it hasn't exactly turned out the same way this year. They're 1-4, but I don't think it's the quarterback's fault. When I look at the statistics there that we just showed on the board there, the one that stands out, and it wasn't up there, but he was a 60% completion rate quarterback as a rookie, and he's up to 69 and change. So I think he's obviously doing some good things.
Yeah.
Another thing about him, kind of a big kid, 6'1", 220, pretty well put together, and he's mobile. Now, he's not a runner, but he's mobile in the pocket, and he's able to elude the rush and get the ball downfield. And, I mean, when he gets it downfield, he gets it down the field a long ways. He's really a good long ball thrower. I think with the Detroit Lions, you guys have already talked about the state of the pass rush. If you give anybody time back there, they're going to they can really make some plays, and he can do a little bit more of that because he'll look for time and he'll buy time and he'll try to get the ball downfield. So I think it's a really tough task. Don't let that 1-4 record fool you with this team. They can do some things offensively.
Well, we're taking a look at those pregame warmups in Jacksonville. You're looking at that Lions offense. Let's talk about who they are going to be up against today in that Jaguars defense. Mike, that Jaguars defense hasn't exactly been playing well so far this season. What kind of opportunity do you see for this Lions offense to get things back on track today?
Well, obviously run the ball. That's part of it. They've given up, they've given up more than 400 yards total on offense. They've also given up in their 4-game losing streak. Now, they opened up the season with an upset win over the Colts. In the last 4 games, they've given up 127 points. That's 31 point something, 31.75, I think, if my math is correct.
Wow.
My math, or they're giving up the points.
Your math, obviously.
Okay. But they haven't been able to stop anybody. Look, they've got a really good young pass rusher, and the Lions catch a break today. Josh Allen's not going to play. He was drafted 7th overall last year out of Kentucky. He had 10.5 sacks as a rookie, 23 quarterback pressures, and in the first 4 games, backed that up. He had 2 sacks, and he had, I think it was seven quarterback hits already, not pressures. And so they're really going to miss him. But you look back in the I don't think it's a really balanced out defense. The numbers are what they are. More than 400 yards per game, and the points that I already mentioned. But they've got a good young cornerback in there, and C.J. Henderson, drafted 9th overall out of a small school in the middle of Florida.
Hey, watch your mouth.
A big powerhouse where they let anybody in. No, the University of Florida, which is really a great football program there, and really he's a good young player. He's been hurt, so if they have him or don't have him, that's one of the issues. You'd rather play against them when they don't have him than when they do.
Yeah, Tim and I took a look at the comparison between C.J. Henderson and Jeff Okudah. Definitely an interesting storyline to watch today. Those top 10 cornerbacks in the draft facing off today in Jacksonville. There you go. Got to look at Jeff Okudah at number 3, C.J. Henderson at number 9. We will see which of those cornerbacks is able to play better today in Jacksonville. One more guy I want to touch on, Mike, is Miles Jack. You feel like he's going to be an important part of this defense, especially with them missing Josh Allen today.
Yeah, there's been so many players come and go. They're good players too. I mean, really top flight players that for whatever reason didn't want to be there. Got out of Florida, but this is a guy who stayed. He's really a good football player. He drafted him 6 years ago, and he's been a good player every year for this team. He's a guy the Detroit Lions are going to have to confront today.
All right, good stuff, Mike. Thank you so much. We'll be back with more, though. We've still got to talk about those keys to the game and what the Lions need to do to win today in Jacksonville. We'll be right back after this break.
All for leaving opponents in our dust, linebackers and cancer alike. All for believing in ourselves, even when victory seems impossible. All for working tirelessly as one for the good of all around us. As the official healthcare provider of the Detroit Lions, Henry Ford Health System is proud to keep our greatest athletes and their biggest fans at their best. Henry Ford Health System, all for you.
Priority shift. From rush hours to slow breakfasts. From busy schedules to scheduled downtime. And as life happens, shifts and surprises are sure to follow. At Priority Health, we'll always be ready to shift with you. From complicated policies to ones written by humans. From a plan for 1 to a plan for 3. Because your priorities have shifted, maybe it's time your health insurance did too.
Welcome back to the Detroit Lions pregame show presented by Henry Ford Health System. I'm Tori Petry here with Mike O'Hara. Mike, it is time to talk about our keys to the game and what the Lions need to do to win in Jacksonville today. What's it going to be?
Well, I'll keep it pretty simple here. Stop the run for the Detroit Lions. Same thing for them. And get to the quarterback. Same thing for them. Look, we've talked about this before. If you get to the quarterback, you hit the quarterback, you're going to get early throws. You're going to make them run around. You're going to get tip passes. You're going to get turnovers. You're going to get your offense on a short field and a chance to score. Dominate the game defensively, and it makes everything a lot easier.
Yeah, you feel like this is an opportunity for this Lions team to get back on track because of the way the Jacksonville Jaguars have been playing.
I think it is, but down there in Jacksonville, they're looking at it exactly the same way. This is a way for us to end our 4-game losing streak and get on track. I think the Lions get on track, Tori. Like on our podcast on Wednesday, thanks for breakfast again, 37-20 Detroit Lions. They go to Atlanta on a 1-game winning streak.
All right. Well, one thing that you did bring up in that podcast is the record that the Jacksonville Jaguars have had over the years and, how this team has played and, the winning season that they had, it was only one in the last, I believe, 12 years, you said?
Yeah, they've had one winning record in the last 12 years. They were 10-6 in 2017 and made it to the AFC Championship and were one good defensive play away from going to the Super Bowl. So, look, under this coach, they've had, in this team, they've had their ups and downs, more downs than ups. Here's a chance for the Detroit Lions to keep them down.
All right, we'll see if the Lions can do that today. We'll be back with just a little bit more in the pregame show in just a bit. Don't go away because we have got our fantasy focus as well as the projected starting lineups presented by Ford coming in just a bit.
to honor all the brave men and women stationed around the world who protect our freedom here at home. The Detroit Lions and Kroger invite you to submit nominations for your hometown heroes. Submit your nominations today at DetroitLions.com/hometown heroes for a chance to be honored this season.
We would like to thank again Henry Ford Health System for being the presenting partner of today's Detroit Lions pregame show. And as always, a reminder to make sure that you tune into the home of the Detroit Lions after the game, WJR AM 760. You'll get all the latest info on the game, plus hear from Coach Patricia and many of your favorite players. That's the Lions postgame show on WJR AM 760, the radio home of the Lions. And this season, there are even more ways to get into the game, thanks to Lions Bingo presented by BetMGM. Lions fans can play along for free all season long for the chance to win great prizes, including the grand prize each week of a weekend stay at an MGM Resorts location. Just download the Lions mobile app and register to play Lions Bingo each and every week. Play along during the game, and once you hit bingo, you score courtesy of our friends over at BetMGM. Learn more and lock in your Lions Bingo board before kickoff today by visiting the official Detroit Lions mobile app now. And all morning, all fans have been submitting photos showing their game face and their game day energy using the hashtag DTEGameface. And you can see fans from all over are prepared for today's game against the Jaguars. Thanks again to all of our fans who are a part of today's DTE Game Face.
Stuff from the fans getting involved there with DTE Game Face. I saw at least one fan that's there at that game in Jacksonville that has fans in the stadium today. Will be interesting to see how the fans affect that game. Anthony, it is time for you and I to jump into our fantasy focus and talk about who we think people should start in fantasy. So let's take a look at the leaders. First of all, in the passing category, Dak Prescott at the top, but that will change quickly, obviously, after he suffered that injury in last week's game while the Lions were on the bye. That was a heartbreaker.
Two guys that really stand out to me. Look at the touchdown to interception ratio for the guy at number 4, Patrick Mahomes, 13-1. And how about Derek Carr down there at number 8? 11 touchdowns to just 1 pick this season. Incredible.
All right, and then at the receiving position, you got DeAndre Hopkins on top and Amari Cooper for the Dallas Cowboys right behind him. Anthony, what else sticks out?
Well, the fact that guys who aren't listed as receivers catching the football. At number 3, Alvin Kamara. 8, Darren Waller. And 9, Travis Kelce. Those guys, and even Tyler Boyd there. You know, getting other guys the football that aren't necessarily starting on the perimeter.
All right, you've got Dalvin Cook at the top of the rushing statistics. And at number 3, a guy maybe we'll hear a little bit more about in a bit. Anthony, let's jump into our picks here, starting with the quarterback position. Who are you taking at quarterback in fantasy today?
Well, after a rough week last week against the Las Vegas Raiders, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes for me this week, taking on the Buffalo Bills. The Bills got torched by the Tennessee defense. By the Tennessee offense. Tennessee can run the football. Kansas City can do the same with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I love Patrick Mahomes today against Buffalo on the road.
You know what? I'm going Kyler Murray here. The Arizona Cardinals are playing the Dallas Cowboys. And listen, that Dallas Cowboys defense has been anything but good so far this season. I think this one's going to be a shootout, so that's who I'm taking at quarterback. Who are you taking at wide receiver, Anthony?
I'm going to go with one of your guys, Tori. I'm going to go with Calvin Ridley today. I really like his matchup.
I picked him in week 1.
Yes, I love his matchup against Minnesota. Obviously, it's always difficult. Will Atlanta be able to pick up any steam? They've had some changes there within the organization. So how will they look today on the road at Minnesota? Plus, they're playing one of our divisional opponents. So today we're Atlanta fans.
Yeah, well, I'm picking somebody on the other side of the football field in that same game. I'm going to go with Adam Thielen. The Minnesota Vikings have struggled so far this season, but that Atlanta defense has not been good this season. I mean, the Atlanta Falcons parted ways with their head coach, Dan Quinn, over this last week. So I really think that today is a day that Adam Thielen is going to have a big day. And then at the running back position, Anthony, I'm kind of mad you got your pick in before me because this is who I was going to go with.
Early bird gets the worm, right? Or early worm gets 8, one of the two. Derrick Henry, he has just been a monster all year long. He is taking on Houston, who has just been struggling mightily. They got a victory last week. Good for them. But this is Derrick Henry's game. Ball control. Tennessee's going to take it. He's going to have a monstrous afternoon.
Well, I agree with you. I would have picked that if you had not already selected him, but instead I am going with Ezekiel Elliott. We talked about that injury to Dak Prescott. I think the Cowboys are really going to rely on their run game a lot more without having Dak at the quarterback position. So I'm saying that Ezekiel Elliott is going to have a big game against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, we cannot forget our Lions. So, Anthony, who are you saying fans should start if they have a Lion on their team today?
Well, one of the guys I really like, especially in the daily fantasy leagues because of the value, is DeAndre Swift. I think that we might see him get a couple more touches carrying the football, but his threat to be a receiver out of the backfield, Jacksonville's going to have trouble trying to stop him. Who are they going to try to match up against them? Let's go with DeAndre Swift today.
All right, I like it. Well, we talked earlier in the show about how there is one team that Matthew Stafford has not thrown a touchdown against, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Today's the day.
I am saying today is the day. He's not just going to throw one. I'm saying he's probably going to throw 3 touchdowns against the Jacksonville Jaguars today. That's my bold prediction for today in our fantasy focus. A lot of fun always picking fantasy things with you on Sundays, Anthony. We appreciate you joining us here on the pregame show, and let's head to our projected forward starting lineups as the Lions take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going offense today on the offensive line. Taylor Decker at offensive tackle, Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow at the center position, Halapoulivaati Vaitai at right guard, and Tyrell Crosby at right tackle. Then let's look at the backs and the receivers. Kenny Golladay at wide receiver, TJ Hawkinson at tight end, Adrian Peterson at running back, Danny Amendola at wide receiver, and Marvin Jones Jr. at wide receiver as well. All right, guys, that wraps up. Oh, of course, we can't forget our quarterback, Matthew Stafford. That's a given. You know he's the starter every week here for the Detroit Lions. And like I said, he's my pick in fantasy this week. You absolutely should start him if you have him on your team. Jacksonville Jaguars giving up over 400 yards a game, and I think Matthew Stafford has a big game in Jacksonville today. That does it for our pregame show presented by Henry Ford Health System. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our pregame show. Make sure you come back here for our postgame show presented by Priority Health as we break down what happens between the Lions and the Jaguars. Make sure you tune into that game on your local Fox station if you're in the Lions broadcast region. Kickoff is at 1 p.m. Enjoy the game, guys, and thanks for hanging out with us.